Okay. Every time I'm gonna do it.
Do it.
Because every time you chuckle like it's the first time you've ever heard it.
Did you look to the left and see Tommy? She was chuckling too.
Yeah, but doesn't that make you chuckle? Doesn't that greeting make you go, wow, that's just a greeting of sunshine?
I just find it odd that you would in one breath question it and then look to her and say, but doesn't it make you chuckle? But you question it like as to why I'm chuckling.
No, baby, I'm not questioning it. It just makes me chuckle to see you chuckle on the way I do the greeting.
There it is.
How's everyone doing today? Welcome, my loves. Welcome to yet another episode of Monique and Sydney's Open Relationship. Oh, and the topic today. And we've kind of touched on this a while back, but we need to touch on it again because it's happening. It's happening every day. And people want to hear about it, Betty. So, what we talking about, Daddy?
Are you in and out of relationships? Or in and out of relationships?
In and out of relationships.
Yes.
Now, someone would say, what do you mean in and out of relationships?
Okay. Well, to those that don't know, people get in relationships. Mm-hmm. And then they get out of them.
You know what? You ain't shit for that. You ain't shit for that.
And then they get out. And then what they go do is get in another relationship and then they get out. Mm-hmm. Then they go and get in another relationship and get out. And typically the individuals who are the friends of those individuals get calls like this when they're about to get in a relationship. Whether girl or guy, I'm going to just do it because I've heard a lot of the women. So this is mine. Girl. Oh, my God. I just found him. He the one. I know he the one. How you know? Because, see, on the 7th of June, I had met him, right, girl? Mm-hmm. And then when he had come over and then we started talking, then he was like, yo, it's the 7th of June. And I was like, yo, I was just thinking it was the 7th of June. So we had connected from the start.
You ain't shit.
Right, on nothing, okay? So then 5 minutes later, we got engaged to be married. We going together. We in love, steady. 5 minutes later, she started to understand. I started screaming and shouting and acting mad. And then the next day, you know, he gone. That nigga wasn't nothing.
Okay.
He was the worst. I don't even believe he liked women after all.
He ain't shit.
Ain't shit. Mother wasn't shit. The friends of his mama wasn't shit.
Ain't nobody in the whole family worth for shit.
5 minutes later.
Come on.
Did I tell you I just met this new guy?
Oh.
He the shiznit.
Come on.
I met him on July the 8th.
Come on.
That's in and out of relationships.
In and out of love. I keep falling in and out. Listen. Okay, so I can't stop smiling because today is just an amazing day. But this conversation we're having is I think that we really need to have it and really go into it because so many of us are victims of it and guilty of it and don't want to take responsibility for the in and out relationships.
For the part that you play.
For the part that you play in these in and out relationships. Now, when you watch some of the court shows, right, and you watch a sister, and 9 times out of 10, it's a woman that's the plaintiff and it's the man that's the defendant, right? 9 times out of 10. And you see that she done got this nigga a cell phone, okay? And then you see Gregory talking to him, Judge Matt, like, how long you been knowing him? Well, I met him Sunday. Well, bitch, today is Wednesday, and you got him a whole cell phone to put him on the account and move them in. It's like we move so fast. Yeah. And then when it goes so wrong, now we're looking at the person saying how much of a monster and how bad this person is. But what does that make you because you allowed them to move in after 2 days of knowing them? Let's go to the lines and see what you're thinking, see what you're feeling. Okay, that's okay.
Just missed him.
We just missed him.
That is.
But, okay, so, because when I be watching the shows, right, and I be talking to the TV, and I'm like, bitch, you don't know him. Like, why would you do that? Until I became the bitch that didn't know him.
Right. But it was important that you went through that experience because you're able to share from that place in reference to what happens, and how to navigate your way around those situations from being in those in and out relationships. You want to take it to the line, baby?
Let's take it to it.
All right.
Hey, you're on with Monique and Sydney. Who's this and where you calling from?
Hi, this is Cece from Florida.
Hey, Niecy from Florida.
Hey.
First, I love watching you guys. You guys, literally help me on a daily basis.
We appreciate that.
You guys have really helped me, especially Monique. I feel like we're very similar, and it's just been helping me dig deep into myself and really just kind of figuring out the anger within inside of me, which is why I'm never in and out of relationships. If I'm out of a relationship, I'm gonna be out of one for a couple of years till I kind of just figure myself out. But in regards to relationships, I kind of feel even though we don't call them relationships, I feel the things that we do with people, I feel this day and age we don't even know what relationships are anymore. Which is why people be so quick to jump into them. And I feel people would be quick to jump into them because they're quick to start fucking. So I feel feelings just kind of get all crazy, and then people are just they're in a relationship, and then shit starts to go downhill, and then they get out, and then they turn around and do the same thing again.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Keep repeating the same thing. Thank you, my baby.
Very much.
Thank you, guys.
Love you, honey. She said something key, though. She said they start fucking. And baby, we will get the fucking. We will get the fucking because that feeling and get the feeling good.
Good.
And you be like, I ain't never felt like this before. This the only nigga. Baby, when he look at me, I melt. You be like, well, bitch, how long you been knowing him? Girl, since 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
It's 10 o'clock, bitch, and you done fucked him already? What? So, feelings now getting involved after 4 hours of knowing somebody. In and out of love, in and out of relationships. We're talking about it. Let's go to the lines. Hey, you're on with Monique and Sydney. Who's this and where you calling from?
This is the Child Support God, and I'm calling from Miami.
Hey, Child Before God. Welcome. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I was going through the streets of Periscope, and I saw the title. And, if you ain't mind, I would like to elaborate on it.
Come on.
In and out of relationships is something that's not good, because I was raised up where, as a child, my daddy, he had several women, and I had sisters and brothers with different women other than my mom, and I wondered why all of my brothers and sisters, 4 of us, we had different names, last names and stuff. So, as a man, I grew up thinking the same way. You know what I'm saying? If this relationship don't work, I could try with another woman. And, I really loved these women that I was with, but things just ain't worked out. And subsequently, I ended up on child support, and I had all these financial issues in my life. So I think that, the children need to be educated on relationships, raise our young kings and queens to be young kings and queens, and not just let them learn by chance, because by chance we end up getting hurt, and we only cause more problems for ourselves.
My man.
Thank you, my baby.
We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Again, this show brings out the honesty in people. It doesn't allow you to bullshit. Because he said, I too ended up in the same situation. Same cycle. Watching mamas go in and out of these relationships. Okay, well, if this one don't work, we'll catch the next bus. We'll catch the next bus. Are you that person? Are you teaching your babies? In and out relationships, in and out of love. Let's go to the lines and see what you're saying. Hey, you're on with Monique and Sydney. Who's this and where you're calling from?
Hi, this is Miss Cromani. How are you, Monique and Sydney?
Wonderful.
I'm calling from Miami.
Talk to us.
And I'm calling because I was in a relationship, just like what Sydney was saying. I didn't know the guy. I didn't care to know him. I was basically dick whipped. and I gave him a key to my house, my car, my debit card. I didn't give myself a chance to know him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was because I was insecure with who I was with myself.
Mm-hmm.
So when I got involved with him and he showed me a little bit of attention, just a little bit, I fell for it. And that's what a lot of women do. If you're insecure and you have a nice guy who talks bullshit to you and you fall for it, you will give them that key, especially if you're big like I was.
Love it.
Love it, baby. That dick will do it every time, though, won't it?
Yes, it will, mother. Yes, it will.
Baby, that dick will make you give a motherfucker your credit card number.
And listen, and the debit card number. And the debit card.
Well, let me ask you this. What made you come out of the ether of the dick?
When he started kicking my ass, and I became a survivor of domestic violence, when he started kicking my ass, sitting and letting you know that I was secondary and tertiary, and he would beat my ass. And you got to remember now, when you are a survivor of domestic violence, the showtime is when the abuser wants to apologize.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He makes love to you like he's making a porn movie.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You start crying, he start crying. Oh, that's that good shit.
Mm-hmm.
That is.
And when he fractured my jaw, and I couldn't talk, because I caught him with somebody, he told me, write it down, who told you. And when he spoke to my mother, and he asked my mother, well, my mother asked him, I'm sorry, why did you beat my child like this? And he told my mother, who he had never disrespected all the years I was with him, he answered my mother like this. He said, because the bitch got in my business.
Wow.
Something clicked in my mind and said, if this MF would disrespect my mom, he don't give a shit about me. It took that to make me see Sydney that I was better than that.
That's right.
He didn't deserve me.
That's right. And you didn't deserve that.
Exactly.
We
Real
appreciate
conversations, baby. Thank you, sis.
Thank you, darling.
Love you, baby.
that. And that kind of goes to what we were discussing the other day, in that we live in a world where there are more women than there are men. And there's an advantage to that from a standpoint of your choices when you are a man. And then as your accomplishments or whatever your attributes are that put you higher up the rank in terms of choices as well. And despite that, it's a level of understanding that I find that women may have a difficult time in owning their power from a standpoint of there's no need for you to be insecure, and you are more than what you need to be for the things that you are concerned that you may not be up to par on if you keep working on whatever those things are. Because it is a journey, and you're never going to be at 10. Because if you get to 10, the hope is that you're working towards being at 11 and so forth and so on. But there comes a point where you're just confident from a standpoint of what you bring to the table, so much so that you're not going to let people take from your table without bringing anything to it as well. If you're going to bring something to the table, you must feel confident that this individual is going to bring something else to the table besides dick. Because, women are extremely intelligent. And oftentimes some of the best orgasms that women have had, they've given to themselves. So because of that...
You better talk on it.
So because of that, don't let the dick be the thing that allows you to be disrespected. Let that be something that you want to do. And you may not have to have all the problems that go along with it. Because we adults here. You can get the dick and not necessarily be in the relationship, because that's where you are right now. But why be in a relationship with someone that's not capable of giving you what you need, all because of the dick?
We talking about it, y'all. In and out of relationships. You better snap on it. God damn it. In and out of relationships. In and out of love. Have you ever been that person?
Let's go to the lines, baby.
And talk about it. Hey, you're on with Monique and Sydney. Who's this and where you calling from?
Hi, Auntie and Uncle and Auntie. This is Israel.
What's
hey,
up?
baby.
And our brother Tyrone is here. He's going to tell you, hey.
Hey, God.
And hey, Peaches.
Listen, I wanted to piggyback on what you were saying. And Peaches, she's in the room too. I wanted to piggyback on what you guys were saying about what Uncle was just saying about how there are more women than men, and that seems to be the issue, where women are just settling for whatever they can get because they figure this is it. I may not get another man for the next 20 years. I better go ahead and jump on this one. But what a lot of people don't realize is you've never been in an abusive relationship, you don't get it. You won't get it because it's easy to say, oh, I will never have somebody hitting on me, and I stay there. No, yeah, you would, because it doesn't start out like that. It doesn't start out where one day you come in and you go, hey, pal. It doesn't happen like that. It starts out with you have an argument, and he slams the door. Another argument, he breaks something. Another argument, he gets in your face and yells in your face. The next argument, he shoves you. And then he comes home and he's sorry, he brings you candy, he flowers, he kisses you, hugs you, make love to you. And then the next day, he'll shove you again. And then he'll do the same thing, and then he'll hit you. It's a progression of abuse. And you learn to just submit to it and get used to it. And as it goes by, it gets worse and worse and worse. But you still, in the back of your mind, is that one four-letter word, hope. And you're hoping that he'll turn around and be the lovely person that you had, or she, will be the lovely person who you had in the beginning, who loved you so much and never put their hands on you. But see, those days are gone. It was all set up for this moment. And we have to realize that it's not about, well, I wouldn't stay. Yeah, you would. Because you're going to hope that this person who you're so in love with and who loves you so hard is going to come to his senses, or her senses. I know that because I've been stabbed in my head 27 times. I got 27 stitches in my head right now from being stabbed in my head. I almost died. Okay, so I get it. I literally went to jail for the person because I was afraid that if I told them that it was them, they would kill me. And I was happy in prison. I did 31 days in max, and I was happy because they weren't in there with me. I could breathe, I could eat, I could sleep. It was wonderful. I called the law library and had them bring me books, and I read in my cell the whole time, and I had a ball. I got to gain weight again because I was losing so much weight. So I understand. Being in a relationship, if you don't love yourself enough to figure out what's right for you, then you'll pick anything because you'll think that's all you can get.
There you go.
Wow, baby. And that's how you slam it on home. If you don't have the love for yourself, you will start picking any and everything. Well, thank you, baby. And I got to tell you something, because you said something to me in the bathroom early this morning when you said we as women don't realize we can do the picking too.
Yeah.
Because often, I know for me, whoever picked me, if you said I was cute, you thought, I thought you were, it was who. He said, but women have to understand they can do the picking as well. And I think that's what would slow down the in and out of relationships.
And by picking, you got to choose yourself first. Because if you don't take the time to assess what happened in that last relationship, because what oftentimes happens is you hear people saying, I don't know what took place. But then as you say to them, well, how long did you know them before you got to this place? And they're speaking in terms of, weeks and days and, we just knew it was. Well, if you've been in a repetitive relationships that happen in weeks and days and they haven't worked out, at some point you might consider weeks and days may not work out best for you at some point, because we can't knock it, because there are those people who've met at first sight and they can tell you about they still together years and years and years later. But if you have a pattern of being in 4 and 5 and 6 relationships in the last, year, in a year, it's like 2 in a month, or it happens. You might say, well, what is it that you're doing to create an environment to get in relationships, and then when they end, they end horribly.
Come on.
Not just like he did this, he did that, he was the worst, but when you take accountability for your actions, there's only but so much that you can say about that individual, because the worst that you talk about that individual speaks to how little investigation you did in finding out if you connected with that individual. Because, again, it's kind of like cooking a meal, and I've said it before. The hardest part of cooking a meal is not cooking a meal. The hardest part of the relationship is not just the execution of day in, day out for the relationship. It's making sure that this person seems like they really work for you. You take the time out to do the prep work and set the groundwork for what your relationship is going to be, if possible. That's the hardest part. Then executing it, because then you know you have someone equally going in the same direction as you are.
We're talking about it, y'all, in and out of relationships. Now, I know I'm going to say something right now that's going to get some sisters like, oh, Monique, what the hell? But oftentimes, too, what I'm seeing is when you have sisters that may be entertainers, may be in the six-figure bracket of an income, may just make more than the man makes. I see oftentimes where the way we treat and we talk to our men, and it's almost this feeling of, I got it, and I'm not so much going to share it, I'll ration it out because it's mine. So oftentimes we find ourselves in and out of relationships because after the thrill gets over of, I'm with Monique. After you get past the thrill and you get to know Monique, and then you say, wait a minute, Monique is fucked up as a person, and I ain't impressed no more that this bitch is on TV or in the movies. Now I got to deal with this silly bitch. And any real man or woman about their salt, it's like, hey, I gotta go. So oftentimes when y'all see us, and I'll speak for me as being married 3 times and a whole lot of men in between, it's because for me, I was in such a place of, listen, I call the shots. I call the shots. This my thing. And you coming into my world, not I'm coming in and we're going to join our world together. Daddy, what are you doing?
I'm laughing at your ass. I'm just listening. You telling the truth and shit.
Yeah, because I'm going to do it, Daddy, because I see that often with us. And people will say, damn, they just can't seem to keep a man. Well, no, we can't. And they're not lying, because we oftentimes think that we're the man. And we oftentimes think because maybe the world knows our name, or because I have the biggest position at my job, or because you may work at Burger King and I may work at Ruth Chris, which makes me, whatever the situation is, we go in and out of these relationships because the moment we don't learn the lesson from the last relationship and we go right into the next one with the same mentality, the same attitude, the same ego, the same arrogance, well, the moment that person gets to know you, it's like, well, shit. And then you have to stand back and look at yourself and say, 6 niggas done left me in 2 years. Is it me? Or is it, what is it?
What is it?
And when we don't take accountability or responsibility and say, let me check me. Let me check me. Am I making this all about me?
And listen to your real friends that will tell you not what you want to hear, but what you need to know. Because sometimes, if it's the fellas out there, it ain't always the women, fellas. If it's the women, it ain't always the fellas. You really got to listen to what your friend is saying. And we understand as men, because we've heard enough times, there's a level of just venting at times that women want to do. And as I said to Monique, men and women can take the best and leave the rest as it pertains to the attributes of one another, because women live longer, in my humble opinion, because they have a tendency of wanting to vent and talk things out. Men have a tendency of wanting to hold things in. If you can meet halfway, because women, when they do vent, it's not necessarily for the sake of getting an answer and a resolution. It's just for the sake of venting. Men are looking for a resolution. because in life, you've never got a textbook that you didn't have to find the answer to it. You couldn't just vent about 1 + 1 = 2. You must solve and understand that 1 + 1 = 2. So I think that if we're able to connect, have a real conversation where you're saying the real shit with the purpose of having a resolution and men are open to having a conversation with you, then we can come to a place where there's a better understanding. But men and women are no different in the sense in terms of power. You can't tell me that there's some woman out there. We talk about Harvey Weinstein. You can't tell me that there's some woman out there that's not in a position that told somebody, you know what, I want you to get on these nuts.
Come on.
Okay. And the guy did what was asked. But the difference between the two is the guy would look crazy saying my boss sexually exploited me. Why? I slept with her because I thought it would advance my career. Well, did it? Yeah. Then shut up. Okay? Then shut your punk ass up. Because that's how cats gonna feel about it. But when a man can penetrate a woman, do you understand? So it's a different dynamic, and it's looked at differently. Mm-hmm. Like people like, yo, I ain't buying that. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And
but we see it.
We see it.
We saw it in Boomerang. We saw it with Marcus and Lady Eloise.
Oh,
he had to fuck Lady Eloise because he thought it was going to advance his career.
Right.
So, like you say, it's no different.
It's no different. And Marcus couldn't have went back to the office and said, hold up, I slept with her ass and I ain't got no position. Hold up. Lady Eloise, her old ass sexually harassed me. The fellas on the corners would say, man, if you don't go ahead and take that coochie and go on about your business and keep that to yourself, homie. Keep that to yourself. Don't bring that up. It's a different, it's a different ism.
Now,
that goes somewhere else. But
I want to be clear about something when we say in and out of relationships, because I don't want y'all to think for a second that I'm just saying it's just women, because that's unfair, because there are a lot of men out there that's what they do. They go in and out of relationships for shelter. It's like, okay, this bitch is ready to put me out. I got to go out tonight and find me another home.
Tonight.
And that home mean I'm in the club. I'm telling her, listen, I'm going to say and here's the thing. I'm going to say all the right shit. And sisters and brothers, we know when someone is just saying all the right shit. And we have to be accepting of, listen, when you having that real conversation with your girlfriend and she say, bitch, how did you move that nigga in? And you say, because he was just saying what I needed. No, I'm sorry, what I wanted to hear. He was just saying everything I wanted to hear. I know my shit is raggedy. I know I ain't doing good as a mother. I know it, but he was saying I'm the best mother he's ever seen. When he tasted that dumb cake, bitch, he said he ain't never tasted nothing like it. Now, it was nasty as shit, but he ain't finished the sentence. He was just saying everything I wanted to hear. That's the real shit. That's the real shit. But when you have those conversations and it's like, I don't know what happened. No, bitch, you do know what happened. You just didn't want to be lonely. And he needed somewhere to live. And if we can have those real conversations, it makes it better for the next one's coming, and for you for the next one coming, because that makes you say, let me take my time and slow down. And if this man wants to move in immediately, why? Mm-hmm. Why you want to move in on Tuesday? We met Monday. Why? But we don't take the time out to do that because we go into fantasy.
And sometimes the honeymoon period, before the honeymoon period, where you first meet somebody and you're going through that, feels so great. And then you get into that honeymoon period. But then you get into that period where you realize you really didn't know that person. Mm-hmm. You knew just enough about them and they knew just enough about you to get to the next stages, so to speak. But you really don't know them. Have you met everyone? And is there a need to meet everyone at this juncture? Mm. Because there are just some things that don't get a chance to play out in a matter of weeks, like months, like years, and at the same time, you've been together with somebody 9 years and, you ain't married. That's the flip of it. That ain't in and out the relationship. You in the same relationship and this Teddy won't marry me. I don't know what it is. But it's like when you're in and out of relationships, there's a taste for something that you obviously have, but there's something that's transpiring that won't allow you to stay in it. And to Israel's point earlier, I think abuse comes from also, and people dealing with it comes from the fact that people are trying to stick it out in relationships because they have heard how difficult relationships are, and you're trying to, and then you've gotten used to that pattern of behavior. And once you get used to that type of behavior, someone brand new, or once you get out of that behavior and then you look back at it and you're like, I can't believe it, but it was, in small doses until it was in such a dose that you, like with our caller earlier when he disrespected her mother, now it makes sense. Somebody else and we only get it when we get it.
We're talking about it, y'all, in and out of relationships, in and out of love. And something else that may be a red flag, that may say, we can't do this, when everything is separate. When this is yours and this is mine. When you got your business and I got my business. When you don't talk to my business folks and I don't talk to you. This might not be y'all might not be right for each other. And we've been taught to be so separate. We've been taught to be separate. We've been taught, have something for a rainy day. We've been taught, he got to have his bank account, you got to have your bank account. We've been taught to be so separate. So when you hear the conversations of women speaking, and they speak like, listen, what's mine is mine, what's his is his, well then y'all motherfucking roommates. Y'all roommates. You've not yet decided, neither one of you have said, we are a team.
And it's all right to be open and honest and tell a person, look, I need a roommate. Like, if you're straight up about what you want, it's kind of like, because it's a difference between a guy that's homeless and trying to find someone, and he's in and out of relationships like that because he purposely is on a hustle mission. That's different than a person who's trying to find a genuine relationship and just is in and out of relationships because it's happening too quickly. You know what I mean? So it's almost like with the women, it's even more important that what we were saying earlier, listen to your friends, your real friends that are saying to you what your involvement is in it, and don't take offense to it because you got to have some accountability for the same things happening to you. If you getting taken advantage of, at some point you got to put an end to it.
And you begin to hear the same story over and over and over again. And then you start saying, well, it speaks a lot about you because you keep picking the same ones. We're talking about it, y'all. In and out of relationships. Let's go to the lines. Hey, you're on with Monique and Sydney. Who's this and where you calling from?
Hey, Morris, it's Gene calling out of Atlanta.
Hey, Gene.
Hey, Gene.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, baby.
So, yeah, I was listening to you talk, and it's just so funny, especially when you went on the bit about how people are really the loneliness part and the part about people just, they were just being told what they wanted to hear. But I wanted you to expound a little bit more on that because, I'm trying to, I get a lot of that, especially from a lot of my female friends that when they deal with the men that in and out of these relationships, what leads to that loneliness that, because I really was feeling what you were saying there, but what do you think kind of leads to that? I know it's probably multiple layers, but what's your opinion on that?
I think you're absolutely right. It's multiple layers. I mean, because everybody has their own story. What led it for me may be different for Tommy, or may be different for Robin, it may be different for you. So it's really hard to pinpoint, what leads to a person's loneliness.
Expectations.
Yeah, it really, I think it varies.
And I think being, simply put, the obvious, there's some people that can be alone and find things to do because they're able to entertain themselves with life. And then there are those that are alone that need others to introduce them to the entertaining aspects of life. So they feel the need to have them so that when that person makes the choices for them, they can blame them if that choice doesn't go right.
Wow.
You know, and that can happen. It's not always one way, but when you feel comfortable with being alone, you can find a shitload of shit to do by yourself. It's a lot to do.
Yeah, that's how I am.
Right. And then you got people calling you up because they are attracted to you because of your security with being alone to a degree where sometimes there are those people that need to be alone in order to heal themselves, and there are those people that need others to help heal them.
Yes.
So when you have that aspect where you are that individual that you believe that you need the spirit of this man to help heal you, you're putting a burden on him, and you're being unfair to yourself because realistically, from a spiritual standpoint, you're supposed to be whole before you get into another relationship looking for somebody to make you whole.
I really appreciate you all sharing that perspective with me because that's something that I really think about a lot when I hear this. I appreciate y'all talking about this. Thank you all so much. This is a very, very, very needed subject to be talking about.
Thank you, baby.
Thank you, Gene.
Talk to y'all soon.
All right,
Okay,
now,
honey.
take care.
You know, Daddy, and when you say you have to come into a relationship whole, I didn't come into our relationship whole. And I don't know how many people go into it whole, and I think that that's a lot of the in and out. Because if I don't come into it whole, and you don't come into it whole, well, we have. Okay? And if there's no balance in there, it's hard to work. But for every relationship that I've ever had, I've never gone into it complete. I've always gone into it with an expectation, with I need this void filled, with I need to be able to trust, I need to be able to be, but never going in saying, listen, I'm so good with me that however it goes, I'm good with me. Never. So I think that some of us go into it broken. We go into it fearful. We go into it guarded. And when you do get with that person, it says, despite all the shit you bring into the table, I'm going to be patient enough, and we're going to love each other through it. So when we say come into it already complete, so many of us aren't. We don't even know what that means.
Well, Isra just said, you have to know you in order to be complete. And she's absolutely right. And what has to happen is we oftentimes have higher expectations of what someone is going to do for us than we have of ourselves and what we're going to do for our own best interest. So when you go into a relationship saying, yeah, he better do this, oftentimes just watch these shows on TV where you hear individuals talking about why you're in a relationship. And oftentimes you'll hear a woman says, because he does this for me, because he does this for me, because he does that for me, and I love him because he does that for me. But oftentimes you don't hear, and he allows me to do this with him. And I enjoy doing this for him because of what he does. The symbiosis effect, where you hear a mutual gratification as opposed to this is what someone is doing for me. So you expect this person to do for you, but you're not speaking about and planning what your expectations are of yourself to do for this person. Do you understand? So it's like, and then some people can go to the extreme. They want to do everything for the person to show them how down they are without allowing that person to show them how down they are for them. So either way, too much on either side leads to a lack of balance. And all you're trying to do is get to a place of balance where essentially, you're both on the same page. The seesaw effect. When they go up, you down. When they go down, you go up. It's back and forth, and that's a level of fairness. When you want to go to Popeyes now,
Yeah.
I want to go to, Five Guys later. But when we keep going to Popeyes and shit, then at that point you just be like, that we just going to Popeyes, okay? So a mutual back and forth, if you will.
In and out of relationships, baby. We're talking about it. In and out. In and out. And this is something else that's on my heart, and I'm going to talk about it. Talking about in and out of relationships. This is just my humble opinion. Let me put it on there again. Humble opinion. When you have to do a prenuptial agreement, that may not be the person that you should be saying, I'm going to spend the rest of my life with. Because something about that, humbly speaking, just does not go together. As you stand there and you take those wedding vows, and you're saying sickness as in health, death in the poor, high go, to sickness and in health, richer or for poor. However, if some shit go wrong, baby, I got to make sure you don't get none of this here shit, okay? You can't get no money, no cars, no house, you can't get shit. And I'm saying, well, in one breath you'll say, I'll give my life for this person. And in the next breath you're saying, but you can't have my things.
Which means that there's a level of time spent together that you don't have where you trust this person. And, but at the same time, everybody has their opinion. At least Sugar had asked the question, what's the difference between an open relationship and being in and out of a relationship?
I like it. You want to take it?
Sure. An open relationship, for us, means that you're open enough in your relationship to have a conversation about what you want things to be and where you are in your relationship. And in that open relationship, you can still be monogamous, or you don't have to be monogamous. But what your openness has done is allowed both of you to know where you are in your relationship.
Come on.
When you're in and out of relationship, the person is in a new relationship with a person that may be open or closed, not with the same person that they're in a relationship of openness as it pertains to what it is and the boundaries of their relationship. So I hope that I gave you some sort of clarity in reference to the difference between an open relationship and being in and out of a relationship.
If we're watching what's going on right now, with all of the sexual assault and all of the misconduct and all of the inappropriation and all of the shit, and you have to say, are these people married? Mm-hmm. Are these people in relationships? So I appreciate when people question the open marriage, because what we have to start talking about is there are people married that are so close to one another because they don't know what one another thinks, what they feel, what they desire. They just got married. And this is what we're talking about, being in and out of relationships. You just got married. There's nothing else that excited you but just getting married. There was not the day after the wedding. There was not the year later. It was just getting married. I meant, and the focus was just getting married. I didn't think about anything else but just getting married. I don't want to get to know him, and I don't want him to get to know me. And my business is my business, his business is his business. We just got married. And
what happens is, there's an old saying, you can't measure yourself by someone else's yardstick. So oftentimes when you have people that are, trying to equate, Ad Omega Man said that if you're going to be in an open relationship, you should be single. Well, if you're single, you should still be in an open relationship with the individual that you're dealing with. And if you're married, you should be in an open relationship where you're open enough to have a conversation. The specifics of how you handle your relationship is indicative of you and the person that you're with. I think the problem that we have in society is we impose our scruples on other individuals as to what we should do, not realizing that the spirits that we embody come from different parts of the universe. So what makes you tick is not necessarily what makes someone else tick. You can't understand why your child can pick up on mathematics, music so easily when it was terrible from you. You don't know what part of the universe that spirit came from. You don't know why you're the way you are. You just have to accept it. And when you are able to accept why you are the way that you are, you begin not to have a problem with others saying they're in an open relationship, because what you won't find them is lying to one another, despite the fact that you might not like the moral choices that they may or may not embark upon. The best part about it is you are not forced to do what it is that they do.
Yes.
So when we remove our judgment for others and focus in on ourselves, that adds to a level of security, and it creates a world where no one wants to be stopped from doing what it is that they want to be doing, especially when it pertains to you're not hurting anyone and you're with another consensual adult. Now, if you're Roy Moore and they're saying you touching on young children, shame on you. But as long as you're with consensual adults,
Come on.
then you're having an open and honest conversation. It's the equivalent of someone saying to you how wrong abortion is. It may be, but it's legal.
Come on.
So there's no conversation about it. A person can do what it is that they choose to do. And when you're in a relationship that's open, to me, there's a lot of people that don't consider themselves being in an open relationship. I heard a young lady by the name of Wendy Williams who had a whole lot to say in reference to our relationship. And it sounds like, based upon the dynamics of her relationship, she too is in an open relationship.
Reach out and touch. Ow! Listen, okay? As my daddy said, we should all be in open relationships. Open yourself up to be free enough to think for yourself. To think for yourself.
And just be sharing.
Share, Daddy.
This is where we go with it. And what happens is, oftentimes when you're open and honest with people, they are unable to appreciate the openness and honesty that you give them. As an example, as a single man, years ago, when I was with women, it was a habit of mine to bring condoms to a woman's house and leave those condoms with that woman, with the understanding that I would be bringing condoms the next time we got together. And they say, well, aren't you going to take them with me? No, I would say, because you might get lucky before the next time you see me. Now, to them, they gasp, because never, ever has a man said, you're free to do what it is that you want to do with your vagina, for it is your vagina. And though it is a castle of happiness for me from time to time, I appreciate that you share ever so freely with me what it is that you have to offer, but the treats that you possess are so nice that you may decide to offer to some other gentleman along the way, or female. If it is a gentleman, feel free to use what it is that I've left to you as a token of my appreciation for the time in which we spent together. And until then, I bid you a fair due.
Yes, baby, he left a bag of condoms.
This is so, and I would say to this woman, if ever I call and you are, or women, if ever I call and you are engaged with another gentleman, feel free not to pick up my call, or pick up the phone and say, hey, I get back with you later. I'm a little busy and it ain't no trip. But I've been in situations where they made it a trip because they couldn't believe that you're saying you're giving me free possession over my vagina. Well, it is your vagina to have free possession over.
Come on now.
I'm just appreciative of the fact that you're sharing with me. And that's all I have to say. So to come into this dynamic, though my wife presented this to me, this was not different from what we've experienced. And you've got to understand, we have 12 years of marriage and 35 years of friendship as best friends from 14 years of age. So the prep work in terms of our relationship may be a little bit different from you and your significant other. And or it might not be, because there are others who can share the same story. But it gets to a point when you're with someone close enough, your shit starts smelling the same.
Come on.
Because you eat the same food. Now, I know I may have given too much information, but if you know what it is to be in a real relationship, you already know.
Boom.
So what happens is, why not be truthful with the rest of the shit? Okay? Why not be straight up with it? And that's all we're saying.
That's it. And please let me be clear about something, because I hear some sisters saying, well, I only want to be with one and one and one and one. And you should.
Yeah, that's what you be.
And you should.
Yes.
And we're not saying, how could you do that? We're saying, and you should. And that's it. And if we got into a space of, because one baby said, well, traditionally, open means you can sleep with whoever you want to sleep with. Traditionally, because that's what you've been taught. That's what you've been told. But you got to ask yourself, what does that mean to me? What does it mean to me and my spouse, my mate, to be in this relationship? Or are you just content with in and out? Let's go on the lines and see what you're saying. Hey, you on with Monique and Sydney? Okay, yeah, Daddy, but you like that though.
I like it.
Oh, bam.
I like it.
Talk to it.
And at least Sugar said, I put the show on speaker and men are leaving out the room and running out the room. They better bring their asses on back in there and stop being afraid of the truth now.
Here's what's funny though, Daddy. At a lot of the shows, the men, as they be looking and we'll lock eyes, and they be saying, Mo, say that shit. Say it. Say it. And then you'll see some of them get uncomfortable because their wife will now fold her arms. And I'm like, you better tell her you want to fuck Barbara on the job. You ain't trying to love her. You just want to fuck her because you taught her coming home to her nasty ass. Every time you come home, she mad about something. Feet crusty. She ain't got her nails done, hair done. You ain't trying to leave her. But you do want to fuck Barbara because every time you see Barbara, she smell nice. She got it together.
But here's the thing.
She bringing plates from Sunday dinner.
And then that's when the male aspect comes into it and says the woman could do everything that they should as a woman, and that's not going to stop an individual as a man from not seeing another woman that he wants to sleep with.
Come on now.
So we're not going to diminish it like this woman didn't do what she was supposed to do. What happened was there was other women out there looking like they was doing what they were supposed to do. And then he wanted to have a touch. He wanted to pump up on her because these are the things that happen in life. But again, because we normally talk about it in this dynamic, we don't talk about that there are women out there that are operating in the same manner in which men are stereotypically known as operating in.
See, when someone says, this is wrong on so many levels, you know what's wrong on so many levels? The silence. That's what's wrong on so many levels. Mm-hmm. What's wrong on so many levels is the fear of communication. That's what's wrong on so many levels. And what happens is when you find people that's saying, fuck it, I'm going to say it.
Right.
I'm going to say it out loud. I'm going to say what I feel. I'm going to say what I think with no validation needed, nor your opinion is necessary. Now, if you want to give it, that's okay, but it may not change my mind, or it may. But I think where we get bent out of shape and where people look at you and I sometimes, Daddy, and say, I don't believe it, because y'all are saying, you know you're not supposed to say that out loud. And what we're saying is that's why we're in the positions we're in now as a world.
As a world. Because, go ahead, I'm sorry, baby.
Because we're too afraid to say the shit out loud. And when you're talking to a woman, for the ones who want to question it, when you're talking to a woman that's been married 3 times and fucked around on the other 2 husbands, I'm too goddamn old to be at this place of I'm cheating and hiding and shit. I'm too old for that. So I'd rather be with someone in my life to say, this is how I'm feeling. This is what I'm dealing with. And he can say the same to me. And we deal with it. But not, I got to tell my girlfriend what I'm feeling and thinking, but I lay next to this man and I can't tell him what I'm feeling and thinking. So a lot of women that question it, I get it. Because you've been taught to question it. and you've been taught you keep your secret feelings, bitch, to yourself.
But not only that, you know, you have a lot of people saying, but then be single. And I grant, if I'm not mistaken, Wendy Williams said the exact same thing. Y'all should just be single. Forget that open relationship shit. And what happened was, the moment she found out that her man was someone else, well, she called him a friend. Well, that's all he could be, because he can't be another wife, because it's illegal for that. So that is his friend. But the reality is, she made a modification in her relationship to allot for the years that they had been together. But see, what happens is people say things in terms of talking tough about what it's going to be if this ever happened. Then it happened, and then that's not what it is. Then her and Cordell, then Audrey and Cordell gonna work it out. And then Cordell done fucked around on it. And I know what Audrey has said, that she ain't gonna never, nigga, Cordell, I will fuck that nigga up. But come to find out, she was down at Becky's.
No.
With the good hair.
That bitch Becky, baby,
with the good
she
hair.
fucks everybody.
With Cordell. And now, but the crazy thing, everything good. They working it out, Cordell and them. But what happened was, the relationship then got open when they had to discuss it openly, what was transpiring, and she's overlooking it. Now, that was 3 fucks ago.
Come on.
Okay? Because Cordell done did it, and quietly, Audrey done did her thing too. Okay? But they still together, and they're still under the guise that they're in this monogamous relationship. But there are people out there who can applaud and relate to that. But they gasp when they say, you're in an open enough relationship that you can have a conversation about who you may potentially be with or not, if you choose to be with anyone at all, because it's like the family or the household that they say, go ahead, you can smoke cigarettes if you want. Go ahead, you can smoke reefer if you want to. But if you smoke it, you got to do it right here. Then your child go out, your friends off from reefer. It was like, I ain't smoking no reefer from you. My dad said, if I'm going to smoke reefer, he can get me some good shit. And I could do it at home under his watch. But I'm not interested in doing it because it ain't no secret to it. It ain't no, you know. So I'm cool on that. That's one of the things that I was told as a kid coming up. So it was like drinking cigarettes and weed as a young kid coming up. You see those cats on a. But my father said, nigga, you can do that at home out. I'll get it. That way I can make sure you get what you're supposed to do. You see what I'm saying? So when you're like that in a relationship.
Come on.
Then you find yourself at baseball games.
On dates.
On dates drinking hot chocolate, but the world got you out there as y'all in an open relationship. They swinging from poles and everything. Nigga, no, I'm at home after homework. Trying to get in the game of Madden. My wife say something nasty to me about later on, and we're going to be together intimately, and we ain't going to have no snack treats late at night because we trying to work on ourselves, and we're going to have a good hot time in bed, but after we finish with the kids and everything, we lay on each other and go to sleep. But we get our revenge, but this is the world we live in because we in this hot open relationship.
Oh. You know, I'm reading this baby Diamond Princess's her comments, and I understand it, and I don't know if that baby's in a relationship or not, but I often find the people that critique it the most are not in relationships. Mm-hmm. And you say to yourself, or the one thing I've learned, Diamond Princess, is I can't be judgmental on anybody's situation or whatever it is, because I only have enough energy to focus in on mine. And if I take that energy and focus in on mine, what I'm experiencing is I'm at the best place I've been in my life. Now I got some work to do, bitch. Please hear me. Please hear me. I got some. I'm an infant stage. Got some work to do. But I find that when I focus in on the work that I have to do, I can't get caught up in anybody else's shit. Because what that says is the moment I start fucking around in somebody else's backyard, there's some shit in my backyard that I guarantee you is fucked up. There's a hole in the bottom of the fence. Something can be painted.
And when you typically hear that when it comes from people, that's just the cue to say that there's a level of life experiences that this person doesn't have when they're in the stages of judging others for what is working for them, as opposed to trying to put a square peg in a round hole. So it's like whatever works for you, you should preach. I'm sorry. Whatever works for you, you should do. You know, I just read his comment. Whatever you do, you should. Whatever works for you, you should do. And not focus on what works for somebody else for you to do. Unless this is somebody that you're taking private classes from for singing, dancing, acting, you know, something that you're doing where you're needing their help. But as it pertains to your life, there's nobody that's going to know better what works for you than you.
Yes.
But it's like Israel said, people aren't taking the time out to get to know themselves. So take the time to get to know yourself. And what'll happen is we'll spend a lot less time judging others.
Come on, baby. Come on. And you know, Black Brother said, why do you explain it? If it's working, it's working. You know why we explain it, Black Brother? Because this is what this show is.
Yeah. If we didn't say anything, we would be sitting here in silence and saying we don't have to say anything. And it's different from what we grew up on. Remember when your parents told you, do it because I said so. It's sometimes nice if you get an explanation as to why you're doing it. Because then to be asked why and to give an explanation is what proud people do for their decisions that they've made. So that's really why we give an explanation. When you're proud of why you do and live and you can say why you do it, there's no hesitation in it. But it's always a level of reluctancy. And that reluctancy comes from people judging you and you being concerned about them judging you. And by you not being concerned, each time we come here, we know that we're freeing someone else from saying, you know what? I'm not going to worry about folks judging me. I'm going to be who I'm going to be. And to answer your question, also, someone said, well, are you in a heterosexual open relationship? Well,
tell him, Daddy.
Well, if Monique brings some other honey in the room, then maybe not, because there would be two women. But it ain't going to be two penises in the room, or, you know, there's no... I'm not a homosexual gentleman, though if I was, I would be proud to say I'm a bisexual man. You see what I'm saying? It's like we don't have to talk secretly or around it. I happen to be a heterosexual man that has invested a lot of time in his life from time to time with women. And really no time with men unless it was from a heterosexual standpoint. How about you, dear?
Well, Daddy, you know, because we shared a house together, and my bedroom was over top of your bedroom.
And mine was below yours.
Now, I've only known, and let me tell y'all something, too, okay? And it's time for us to go, but he's such a gentleman, right? And his girlfriends, he didn't have a lot of friends, but he had, you know, a girlfriend. And he was such a gentleman with his girlfriend, right? And I would come home from the club, and I would go and knock on your bedroom door just as nice, and he would be in there with his girlfriend.
3 o'clock in the morning.
Listen, hey, Sid, yeah, Monique, I need to talk. I don't know if they was fucking. I don't know what was going on.
And she didn't care.
But my brother would get up just as nice. And he would come out there and sit and talk with me till I was done. And then I say, okay, I'm sleeping now. He'd be like, okay, Monique, good night. Like, so I don't even know why I'm sharing that, because it was just on my heart to share it.
And Dawn says, I know she was freaking out in that bedroom. And the truth was, she wasn't. She was just accepting.
It was so fucking accepting
of the situation. As there would be gentlemen that would be going by my bedroom with Monique at night after she came from the club and be like, Monique would be like, hey, Sid. And these random individuals would be like, hey, Sid.
Well, you don't have to say random. Like there's just a whole lot of niggas going up there.
It was enough niggas that I could say random, okay? Okay? And here's the thing.
Oh, I was a whore.
And here's the thing. Here's the thing. Whatever that is, I love you for it. Because, listen, one thing about a hoe, they know how to do their job if they's a good one. Okay? And every person to some degree needs to learn how to be a good hoe, at least for the individual that they can appreciate. But that's a different story. Listen, we out here be killing the Christians with the truth. Let's do it. And, you know, when it's 5 minutes over the time, so it's time for us to get ready to go. Get your shit together.
Baby, y'all know that kind of talk, okay?
Okay?
I like it.
There it is. So listen, we love you.
Yes, we do.
Take us home,
yes,
Mama.
I'm going to take us home. You know, we want to thank each and every one of you for listening today. With your ears, with your heart, and your mind. Because you could have been doing anything else. So we want to ask you not only that you listen to us, but you share us with others. You tell a friend and tell 10 more friends. And go to radio.com and click on Monique and Sydney's open relationship.
Absolutely. And someone said, let Jesus take the wheel. And if Jesus is truth, then perhaps he's already taken the wheel. But with that said...
Ow! Like my daddy always says, the mind is like a parachute.
It is no good unless it's open.
We love y'all.
For free.